I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on
right.
a freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the Kingdom of Winter's Edge, interview the Amtgard community at large, and talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world.
Except for not this show.
Hey, we're interesting. Okay,
Are we interesting?
I don't know. I'm not that interesting.
I don't feel like I'm very interesting either.
Really fucking interesting.
I have a whole rant about doors.
Flo
I
is
can
the
do.
most interesting man in the world.
He's the most interesting man in the room for sure.
I know, I just stole his beard.
Oh yeah.
So, we're wrapping up Sword Belt month, and then this month we're moving into Crown. Before we do that, I just want to take a moment to thank all of our guests that we had on for Sword Belt month. Sir Anatole, Warlord Delos,
Sir Alwyn.
Yeah.
Golwyn. God, really? I know the fucker too. Sir Golwyn.
Sir Golwyn, and Sir Gillen, and Warlord Gunn.
Yeah.
So you visualize words before you say them, don't you?
Shut up. I do. I absolutely do.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. I learned quite a bit. I think that we got a really good look into the kind of psychology behind fighting, which isn't discussed.
No, it's not discussed very much.
Well, in an audio medium too. That's the best thing to talk about.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I think so as well.
We got to learn a little bit about theory crafting, a very little bit about some training stuff. The big thing that I took away from it that pretty much everybody said is there is some part of it where you kind of have to tell yourself, I'm going to set goals for myself. They're going to be realistic goals. And when I meet them, I'm going to move those goals. And if other people don't agree with my goals, fuck them.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean you don't take feedback from your friends and stuff like that. I don't want to phrase it like that because that's not what this is about. But it just in terms of, there's a line. There's a line there, and I'm not even sure if I understand where it is, where you need to be able to hold on, take advice. Maybe this is the best way to say it. Take advice, listen to your friends and take advice,
right.
But ultimately you're the one making the decision, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's also some commonalities between most of our interviews. If you're looking to go down the Sword Belt path, one of the main commonalities was that they all had a group of 4 or 5 people at least that they fought with consistently, and that's not just Park Day. And I would argue, honestly, in some ways, to not practice fighting in a true like competitive fashion on a park day, because then you are less likely to contribute to the rest of the park that way.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of my opinion of it. But they also had multiple days during the week that was not a park day to practice, and specifically practice. And
That
whether
was
it's
just fighting.
Yeah, whether it was guided through drills or not was kind of a different thing.
Yeah, it didn't seem to me like the drills they did mattered so much as they did them. Period.
So there's an interesting guy in big, kind of a somewhat big voice in jiu-jitsu community called Kit Dale, and one of his big things is basically the art of learning, and he doesn't do it in drills because if you go and do the math, doing the same drill 100 times so that you have some proficiency in it for each and every move is going to take like 100,000 years or some nonsensical number like that, right? So what he does is he gets to the end position and then works backwards out of it in different ways, and just is basically playing with body positions to get to like a triangle or a arm bar or something like that. So it's not a direct drill. This is exactly how you get to it in this fashion. It is just a way to get there in the end. So I think that's very applicable for, it seems like, Amtgard in general, because there are people who are drilling. And one of the things for jiu-jitsu is that drillers make killers. And it's true to a certain degree, but the creative and flow rolling people are probably not drillers. And those guys are the ones who are doing like, I don't want to say tricks, but it's going to look like tricks.
Yeah.
To the people who aren't really into it.
Are there freestyle BJJ people?
I think that's
to a
called
degree,
Corpora, and I don't.
No. It's same same area, right? But different.
Welcome
different
to
things.
Matt, a podcast within a podcast where Jeff talks about jujitsu.
I know, right? But like they're more of like an artistic thinker in what they're doing rather than a very methodical thinker in how they're doing it. And both of them have their merits, and we've seen that through our podcast for Sword.
Yeah, I think so too. And to piggyback off something you said there too, we used to do that. Sir Gillen used to do that. We would do this thing where you had fighter practice, but when you came out to the park, you were working on your class stuff.
It's the community that's there, right?
Yeah, right. It's not that your fighting ever took a back seat. If we were ditching or something like that, then
right,
we'd be working on it. But
ditch was a warm up.
Yeah, that's right. We did ditch to warm up, and we did ditch to cool down, and at that time we would run 3 or 4 battle games, until we lost light.
Welcome to Jeff's opinion on how you have a park that's healthy.
Yeah. and at that time, Mystic Glade was 30 plus people strong.
Yeah.
So, we won't go back into the folly of traveling too much and whatever. But because I really want to like finish wrapping up the sword thing. The guests that we had on were great. Like I was saying, I think that you're right. I think that there's a lot of different approaches that you can take here. There's no such thing as one mentality to get to sword, but a lot of them did share the commonality that this is we fought a lot.
How you thought about your fights. It's not just putting in reps necessarily. It's thinking about each rep methodically as well to some degree.
Well,
right?
Not only that, but Sir Anatole I think said it best. But also we're not a new game, but we're only just now formalizing the language we use to talk about fighting.
Yeah,
and so seeing them put words to this and also express the need for it was really cool. And they taught me some terminology that I didn't know before, but also that we're all kind of struggling with it.
Yeah. So really funny. One of the SKBCs we were at. Arthon, we were in some sort of line or something, and it was one-on-one fighting or something, and switch out.
Yeah.
And I think it was Tie-Dye that was in line, and then we considered it tracing, which was basically a counterattack. Like
they swing first, you follow to where they're weak, but it's based off of their first throw.
Right. Yeah. But he's super confused about what we were talking about, and he's like, it's just a riposte. I don't know what you're talking about or something, right?
Right.
So, like, what you're saying is incredibly true because, like, even, I don't know, that was probably 8 years ago. Even 8 years ago, we're still fumbling around with, how to talk about it.
Yeah, to be extremely reductive, let's go all the way back to when swords were first invented and they didn't have a word for stab. How do you teach somebody else a stab?
Right.
Like, you have to invent the word for what it is. And that is, again, really reductive, but it's the same thing here where it's new technique, stuff like that we're having to put names to.
Yeah.
We cannot even easily define what a shot is in 1 or 2 sentences.
Teflon, you found a thing that had the best description of minimal. What was it?
Sufficient force.
Sufficient force. Yeah.
I don't remember how it came up, but we were looking.
It was Darkon.
Yeah, Darkon was the game that their sufficient force rule is probably the best written. It's still kind of blurry to some degree because they reference thicknesses of leather and being able to feel it through.
Right.
But it's still giving you a better basis than just it has to be a shot.
Yeah, it has to be a direct,
sufficient force or whatever, right? So if you're interested in that kind of language, it's really neat. I don't remember where at in the rule book, but when they talk about shots and stuff like that, there's a rule on sufficient force, and it's written pretty well for our games.
It was the most concise thing I'd ever heard, and it's like if somebody asked me, I would use that ruling on my field and say, well, it's this.
Well, yeah, their shot calibration is closer to DAG or Bell, for what I understand, and the language reflects it, and it reflects it better than DAG or Bell in their rule books, I think.
Yeah. So props to whoever came up with that. The one other thing that I got as a takeaway from every night that we talked to was that the way they teach people is not necessarily the way people expect to be taught.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a me thing, but I had that as an epiphany when I was talking to, was it Golan or Delos?
I don't remember.
Well, I think it might have been Delos because he was saying like, oh, when I teach somebody, I'm not telling them what to do.
Yes.
Right?
That was Delos.
I'm sort of observing their style and giving them tips that I think will work for them, but they have to take that advice and turn it into something that works for them and their body type and their play style and whatever. And I had always had that problem where I'm fucking up a shop and I want Sir Gillen to just tell me how to fix it. And he's like, I can't tell you because your body's weird and I don't get how it works. So I can tell you what I see, but then you have to internalize that. And I always got mad, not mad like angry, starting a fight mad, but like, oh, he's just holding out on me. He just wants to be able to beat me at the next tournament. And it was never that, right?
Right.
Like, that was interesting for me to see that, like, all of these sword knights do want to teach and are capable of teaching, but maybe the way that we're taking the advice, or at least certainly the way that I'm taking the advice, isn't maybe correct, isn't conducive to the way they're doing
It's the perspective, too. And you've got to remember that, like, fighting isn't just these shots. Like, even if we named every shot that we can throw, right? Well, yeah, every shot that we can throw, if it was named, it's not specifically that, right? It's the threat of this area being threatened, right? Like Dallas was talking about, which is a big epiphany for people who haven't had it. Like, seriously think about that one if you
thinking
have not.
about them as threats instead of shots, right? Like, that was big for me.
Well, people do this weird thing with any kind of physical activity. Sometimes not with physical activities too, that they don't do in other areas. And I'm going to try to use an example that I hope makes sense here. If the three of us started playing Call of Duty, and Jeff has played Call of Duty a lot, and I say, Jeff, how do I play Call of Duty? Jeff can tell me what the buttons do, and he can tell me maybe what gun is meta right now or something like that, right? But he can't actually tell me how to play Call of Duty.
I can't move you around to do it.
Right. I have to kind of try it and mess up. And once I've reached a certain point, Jeff can then start working on some theory craft like, hey man, you're overextended on this particular map in this particular way, and so you should pull back. That's really the role that I see Sword playing. They can't teach you how to do certain things. They can work with you on mechanics basics and stuff like that, but then there's this point where you just have to go and do it. And you're going to mess up on some stuff, and you're going to find some stuff that works for them and not for you. And at some point you can go back and you can start hitting them up for advice. Hey, here is something that I have been struggling with. This is your footwork, or this is your so-and-so. In the same way that in my example, Jeff was saying, well, this is because you were overextended. Or to use even a more personal one, we've started doing a lot more disc golf recently, and Jeff's been helping me out with my drives off the pad. And my body positioning and foot positioning is bad. I'm able to get some okay distance because I'm 6'4" and I have a long slingshot of an arm. But if I had good form, then I would be able to get a whole lot more distance. I'm not to a point where Jeff can give me higher level tips right now. I've got to get all of the little stuff right now fixed that I'm trying to put together.
Right.
That was one of the big things there. And because of everything that I just now said too, you can't go into this saying, how am I going to do against Lucas today? Am I going to be able to get 6 of 10 in our to 10 matches? How am I going to do against Jeff today? You've got to go into it with this,
like Kanye West.
That you're just going to
I
win.
am a god.
Yeah.
I didn't know where we were going with that.
Yeah, I've sent you all the albums and you won't listen to them, so it's your
No.
fault. You didn't do your homework before the podcast.
No, you got to go into it with this idea that, I'm going to work on these things today and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I'm going to go from there.
Specifically, like, reading people and fighting the person is more, in my opinion, like a tournament thing, especially whenever you're fighting the same people over and over in a Kingdom tournament. And you're like, oh, I got this guy's number. That's great. But that's not what you need to be practicing. You don't need to practice to fight people to get better. You need to build fundamentals and build.
That was Sir Gillen's thing, is it's being really good at the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was his saying? He said that it wasn't from him, but like the top of the mountain is full of a lot of people who are excellent at fundamentals.
Yeah.
I'm messing it up, I'm sure. But
Yeah, it's fine. He's not going to listen, so it's good.
To beat a dead horse with the BJJ kind of things, one of the things I think they say is that white belts, you take a what is it, the knife that has a bunch of attachment on it, Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
They're just handed the knife. Nothing is open, right? And at blue belt, you start opening more of the things, and at purple belt, you've opened a lot of them, but there's still stuff down. And then at brown belt, you actually close some of those tools, put them away because you get better at the ones that you need to.
Because all you need is the corkscrew.
Yeah, exactly. And then at black belt, you have like 3 of them open. And you're just friggin' dangerous at those 3 things. And it's a similar kind of thing, right? We joke about the 3-shot knights and stuff like that, but really that's just they have 3 threats or threat zones that they can throw probably several shots to, but that's where they're just killing them. So to an untrained eye, they're just throwing 3 shots, right?
Right, yeah.
Did you not put your shoes back on before we came out into the garage?
Are we doing a no shoes podcast?
Yeah, no shoes.
No shirt, no shoes, no podcast. I'm out.
All right.
It's like 28 degrees, bro.
Fuck, it is cold as shit in here.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, okay. You can't see this at home. Teflon socks are green and black and have a knight lancing a dragon.
No, he's
on
not.
them.
He's got
It's
a
a
little.
leash.
It's a leash. Yeah, it's his pet dragon. I
He's
think.
leashed the dragon.
Yeah.
It's How to Train Your Dragon, the socks.
No,
Play with me?
not that way.
The not officially licensed socks. All right. Well, Sword Month was actually really insightful, and I had a lot of fun with it. But what do we've got Crown coming up, yeah?
We do. And so here was my thoughts for Crown. And I don't often not plan things, but when I do,
Fuck it,
every
we'll
time?
do it live.
I do it live, yeah. So here is my thoughts for Crown. I made some jokes on the episodes leading up to this. Oh, Crown Month is boring and things like that. It's not. But having people come on and just say, hi, I'm Crown Knight so-and-so, or I'm aspiring Crown Knight so-and-so, and these are the things that I've done in office, and here's my opinion on, I don't know, events. I don't think that is really what we're looking to get out of this. I think what would be more fun and more informative is talking through what the offices really represent now. I mean, you could, with Crown Points the way that they are now, have someone that has just served champion and done a great job, go all the way to a Crown Knight.
At least through paper,
No.
anyway.
Yeah, at least through paper. It's always up to the kingdom as to whether they would see that as something worth awarding.
Right.
But theoretically, you could have someone that that did that. So I kind of want to. I want to have some people on that have served in traditional roles and done that, because I think that there's a lot of information that we can pull from that. But I kind of want to go to some of the other offices, not just kings and queens, and talk to them about their experience in office. Mm-hmm. You know, you're in our kingdom. For those that are listening outside of Winter's Edge, the region in our kingdom organizes our events and does a couple of other things. So it's not just doing ANS things. But getting their perspective on the overarching responsibilities of the office, what you're really dealing with, and some of the things that can be fun about those different positions, I think would be a really cool thing to get into here. And we're blessed in our kingdom to have several really experienced knights that are Crown Knights, and then also have other things that they have pursued and got belts in as well, or very close to getting belts in.
Well, and I mean, like, we've got you, who, you know, you are a Crown Knight, so you've got a lot of insight you can bring to that role.
Fake knight, no monarch terms, right?
Right, yeah. Never served as king, dick. We've got me, 2 times very controversial king of Winter's Edge. We've got you, regent,
I don't know. I've done
monarch
I think,
at one
everything.
point. Yeah, you've done all of the roles. So, I mean, there's a lot of insight we can bring to the board here, too.
So this is the interesting thing too, right? Since the Crown Point conversion, right? Flo touched on it very briefly. Mm-hmm. You can have people come up and not actually be in the traditional monarch role, right? Even with the Crown Points as they were, you theoretically you could get there, like Flo did, technically, get there without serving as monarch. But there are some cultures. Yeah, there are some cultures around Amtgard that, you know, want to see them in a monarch term, which I'm not exactly sure is fair. But I think that's something to ask everyone too, their feelings whenever they come on about that, because it's a new thing to some degree with the Crown Points.
I thought that the change was good for a couple of reasons. One, we all have different talent sets, And this kind of gives people with different talent sets the ability to shine where maybe they wouldn't have had before.
Yeah, well, we also just straight up wrote off GMR.
Yeah, that's what I was about
we
to
did.
say is, we talk about like any role now can receive those awards. I think it's on the people in those roles. It's up to the people as GMR to make that worth their crown points.
No,
right?
absolutely.
Like we've got, here we have Aldrich who's been killing
did a
it.
bang up job.
He's done more
Shout
than most
out.
GMRs I've seen.
Shout out to you, Aldrich. If you listen to the podcast, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 100.
Yeah, it'd be great. And by the way, what I'm saying here is I'm not trying to offend people who have served GMR in the past. There was no incentive for you to do well.
Right.
There was, you sort of hold down your end of the fort. Maybe you get a walker in the middle, maybe you don't. But the crown points weren't on the table.
Also,
didn't
GMR's responsibilities and stuff has changed slightly too as the game has progressed, because we have the rules boards and stuff like that, where it's the official rules Facebook group where they make the rulings from. This is the official stance on it.
Right.
Whereas in yesteryear, that wasn't always the case. So they had their interpretations of it, which led to a thing in 6.0 with the Inter-Kingdom
Rules committee.
or something like that. And there was a sheet where, like a long time ago, you could double fireball and kill somebody because the first fireball hit would free them from ice ball.
Right.
And then the second fireball would be considered the death of being hit by
Well,
it.
let's back up. You used to be able to charge
multiple
fireballs
at the same time. Yeah. So there's a lot going on because it's old rule stuff. But that thing, I think during that one, that came out and said no more double fireballs because it's just one hit basically is how they got it ruled, or something similar to that. I'm sure I'm getting this somewhat mixed up, but there was several different rule clarifications that were made in that document, and it was always a question at the events when we went, are you following these or not?
Right. Man, I got to tell you, just as an aside here, and this is really Winter's Edge specific, but like we are, I'm not super religious, we are blessed enough to have one of the best monarchy teams we've ever had. Like Libby behind the scenes and obviously in front of the scenes is killing it.
Obscura is amazing.
Yeah, Lady Obscura. She's doing a lot of online competition. She has found us a ton of new event sites if we ever get the chance to fucking use them. We've got Aldrich as GMR, who's been absolutely killing it. I love everything he's done. We've got Clover, who is a champion, but he also stepped up to do some other stuff here recently. He's been doing a great job. Like, I would love to see like those three running on a team again post-COVID.
Yeah.
Because I think they could do some really amazing stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this again, nothing that we're saying here is to poo-poo on anyone who's ever had those positions before. But I think it's important to call to give people a tip of the hat when they're doing a good job.
We had a system that you could have done that with, but we failed to do so with titles and stuff. We could have used the titles for lower level crown awards and stuff like that.
Like Lord, Baronet, stuff like
but
that.
it just wasn't used and utilized well. Neverwinter at one point, Schauser said they used it to confirm whether or not they got their crown points in their positions. But again, that was up at kingdom level, not at low level.
And it also
necessarily.
assumes that system is being used correctly across the board. Which,
Right.
Hey, it's Amthgard, and no, it's not.
Right, yeah.
I have a smattering of titles because sometimes when I served office, I got a title for it.
We've never gone through your Amped Wiki.
Sometimes when I served, it's just a bunch of dicks. Just the whole thing is a bunch of ASCII art dicks.
No, I use the PictoChat to draw them all in. So they're all
Marquis.
wiggly.
Your highest title is Marquis.
Yep. Which is the Prime Minister. But yeah,
really cool.
I got a smattering of titles over the years. Sometimes I got lions for the terms that I served. Sometimes I got roses for the terms that I served. So just award, and none of these people were trying to, I don't know a good way to put it.
He's got 8 lions, and I don't think he deserves his 9th, so I'm going to give him his whatever rose or something like that.
They were trying to, the people that were in office were trying to say, hey, I think that he should get something for this, but maybe not this thing. But it did create a situation where if you go back and try to track my award, like I have the paper one.
Well,
sitting
it
right
also
beside
gives
us.
you something that you are awarded for that can't build up to a bigger one to some degree, right? Because if you did a great job and then they were like, oh, here's a rose instead of a lion or whatever random thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Then that thing kind of is already, quote, checked off, right? So it forces you to do more work.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time, I don't know if this changed with award standardization. I can't remember. But at the time, lions led towards a crown belt.
So
I don't know if they still do. maybe
I don't remember.
I think that they do. I think that they do.
Yeah, they probably do.
But there's actually an interesting question that I had.
No,
Based
they're
off
flamed.
of
That's
that.
part of the problem. The only way is through crowns and through crown points originally, and the Lions were out of leadership position.
Doing leadership stuff out of leadership.
Right, but it led to service, which I've always thought was weird because it should honestly, in my opinion, be crown. But it is what it is.
Well, and I mean that was going to be a question that I had is like, is rose kind of overgiven? Like, because there are a lot of times where I think a lion should be given, and we give people a rose anyway.
So I think it's really just kind of the culture. It could be the culture of Winter's Edge, but it could be the culture of Amtgard in general, right? Because lions, as far as I know, aren't given out super
Sure.
are given out rarely, right? And I think that's kind of the disservice to that award structure on the lion. And it could be just that Winter's Edge is bad about it. And I think Neverwinter too. I don't remember hearing a lot of lions whenever I was going off down there.
I don't either.
What I'm kind of getting at though is because rose and lion kind of lead to the same path. We sort of get stuck in this.
Yeah, they lead to the same path currently, but again, I don't think they should.
No. I don't
Yeah.
think they should either because lion is leadership. But there's this sort of sunk cost thing, right? Where like you have 2 or 3 roses, so I'm just going to give you another rose. Like I'm going to move you along the path.
Yeah.
When I should be giving you a lion. And I feel like we're kind of, I don't want to say cheating people, but like...
I mean, it is to some degree. Like I was saying, like if Flo was doing something great and then it already gets checked off by a lower award on a different system, then it is cheating him to some degree.
And it's not just this that suffers from that too. ANS is another really good example where people will do garbers or a dragon instead of a garber, or an owl instead of a dragon
or something like that. Yeah, where you can kind of flub it into another award ladder piece or something like that.
And I think you're right. I think monarchs are trying to look out for the person that they're giving the award to, and
I mean, I've made
acknowledge
that
them.
consideration. I have genuinely said, like, yeah, this guy did some really cool stuff, and I could give him his lion. Right? He's absolutely earned a lion with this thing that they've done, but this is also such an achievement that I should probably just go ahead and give them their 7th rose.
Right.
And like, am I doing that person a disservice? Because I feel like they've done a really
It's such
cool
a rough thing to do, right? Because
Yeah.
like you're trying to do right by the person.
Like, I feel like if I gave that person a lion, they would argue that it should be a rose and feel like I've shorted them in some way.
Right.
Or their friends would
friends
be like,
talked it up.
why'd you give him a 4th lion when really this was a 7th or 8th rose, and you acknowledge that you think it's a 7th or 8th rose.
He did a leadership.
Right.
I mean, like that's the distinction, I think.
Yeah. It's tough. But yeah, this is the sort of thing that I think will be, this is going to be a much more in the weeds sort of month.
I really feel like it should be.
But I think that there's a lot of confusion around some of the stuff that goes on in office. I think that there's a lot of interpretation in the way that we do our awards and some good conversations that could be had along those lines. And I think that there is a lot of what I'm going to call unrealistic expectation, or maybe just flat out misunderstanding of what our officers are and what they do.
I could go on for a while.
I mean,
Nobody wants me to, but yeah, like I think that's a thing we should try to get to the heart of through other people, because I'm pretty biased if I were to have
What
that
I would like to
discussion.
do with Crown Month is kind of take, pull the curtain back so it reveals what's going on behind the scenes to some degree.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really the problem, is that there's a lot of people who've not been in that position because there's only so many positions that can be filled, and they are actually taxing positions as far as mental stress or whatever you want to talk about, that kind of stuff. So, like, people tangentially will see them going through a Monarch or PM or something, going through something and be like, oh, it can't be that bad, or blah, 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 something like that, right? But there is a lot going on, and sometimes it's just stuff you can't actually know about, which is part of the hard thing with Crown.
Yeah.
it really is. Like,
we joke about the shadow cabal, right? Like people think Amtgard politics are a shadow cabal, and like I totally get why people think that, because I can't tell you some of the things that are going on in the background.
Right. I mean, let's not dance around the. We can use Winter's Edge as a good example here, and let's not just dance around the issue. You said earlier it's like somewhat controversial monarch. I don't think that you've been a controversial monarch. I don't think that other than the fact that like the COVID stuff has been going on, and you've had to radically change how we Amtgard. The way that we've had to run our elections and things is vastly different from what we've done in the past. Not just for us, for Amtgard as a whole. Like, how do you count credits? How do you make sure you have Populace or Citizen or things like that. None of that is controversial. It's just been crazy different from the way that we've done it because of the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
I will say this now, let it be put into podcast record or whatever. The fact that you have to ban people sometimes as a monarchy team, whether those people are very popular players or not, is not controversial. Now, the ban itself might be controversial, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that the bans have to happen aren't. And every single monarch that we have had, or almost every single monarch that we have had to ban people before. And on occasion, some of those people have been popular or well-known. Like, we could tick off some lists right now. Bunch, Sarah, got banned. Both of them.
I believe Kazan had to do it.
Yeah,
and
Kazan-
boy, did it tear him up, too. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard, guys. Like,
So-
the problem is with bannings, it's typically, if they're not as well-known, it's easier, which is total horseshit in some ways, right?
Right. If you're nobody in the game, you can be gotten rid of super easy.
Right, and it sucks.
sucks.
Yes. But if you're popular, it is very difficult to do it for anybody because typically, if they're popular, they're your friend to some degree or another, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be like, "Oh, my friend did bad," and then have to deal with the confrontation of having to talk to your friend about it.
And like some of those people can be people you like.
Yeah.
Like you have to do a thing, and it's like, fuck. Like,
Well,
not cool
like
anymore.
I said, like with Kazan and Bunch and Sarah.
Yeah,
like I have no doubt that Kazan was good enough friends with them that it was really a problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, when Chase was in office and Cinnamon was in office and I was prime minister, we had to ban Simi and what's Steve's name? I don't know Steve's name in game.
Darthaniel.
Darthaniel, thank you. And I like those guys. I have a lot of respect for those guys. Mm-hmm. We have disagreed politically before, but I think that they're good people. Mm-hmm. And I'm still friends with them to this day. We still talk to this day. That's hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna put on my Crown Knight hat. I wear a hat instead of a belt.
it's called a crown.
Is that what it is?
Crown
No,
Knight
no,
hat
no.
is just fucking crown.
No, it's Crown Knight hat.
It's a Crown Knight. We do a hat thing. No, I'm gonna put on my Crown Knight hat here and say the thing that maybe all of us know, but it doesn't get talked about because I've been in office a whole lot. The people sitting in the room here with me have been in office a whole lot. When we're just populace, like I am right now, or citizen, I guess, like I am right now, I get it. I get the frustration of having something happen to someone that you like and not being able to know all of the details. I get the frustration and the wondering what's going on and the could this person really have done something like this? And I want to be super clear. I'm not shitting on anybody. I'm not, again, I'm not trying to talk in metaphors. I'm not using Chase as an example here. I'm not using Pi or Steve or Semi or any of those people that are popular people, Sarah or Bunch, right? Any of those popular people that have been banned in our kingdom before. I'm telling you, real talk, I fucking understand that some shit happens and these people get brought forth to the monarchy and the monarchy is forced to make a decision. If you haven't been in that position before, I unfortunately don't have a way that I can describe it to you other than to say it really fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk about bans mostly because I don't fucking want to.
Sure.
But like when Teflon said it was exhausting or it's taxing, it really does. Like I've been seeing a therapist online ever since the shit that went down over Christmas and all of that, and like I've been explaining some of the things that are going on with me, and it's like I don't log into Facebook anymore. Like if I have to, like I go to Messenger and I respond to messages and then that's it. I post pictures on Instagram and then I log the fuck off. I don't have Facebook installed on my phone. Like when I go to Facebook, it is one of those things that for me is just like, it makes me shaky and I want to get out of it as quick as I can. And my therapist was like, you have all the symptoms of PTSD. And I'm like, that's a thing for people that do war. And he's like, no. Like, it's just you had something really traumatic or stressful happen to you. And now when you go back to that place, like, it's really hard for you to, like, to do it. So when I have to make posts on the Kingdom page, it's like I write that whole motherfucker in Word. I go over to Facebook, I paste it in, I hit post, and then I walk away. Because like it genuinely, like I know that's a very like first world problem, like, oh, I can't stand to be on Facebook, but like it's more than that. It's like having to talk to anybody in Amtgard now, like I have, full on like shields up, like I'm recording the call or whatever the fuck, because I don't know like what's coming from where. And like it genuinely is one of those things where when we talk about, like we had this thing where we said all Amtgarders get burned out at some point,
Sure, yeah.
And like, we have this thing where we say monarchy and leadership in general is taxing. You get it, right? It's not fun to know the person, that gets banned, but it's not fun to be the guy making the controversial decision either.
Right.
No.
And I think that's something that doesn't get touched on enough.
That's really what I was trying to get to there is
Yeah,
that
okay.
you can I'm long-winded. If you've listened to the podcast, you know that by now, but you can hate that the situation happened, but here's a level of courtesy that we have to extend to the people in office, right? The level of courtesy is this. They were given something that they had to review. They reviewed it, and they made a call. We can disagree with the call that they made. We are unfortunately in a position nowadays where we can't really ask them for clarification because legally they can't give it, right?
Shouldn't give it anyway.
Shouldn't give it.
I mean, look at what's happening in some other kingdoms where like they're sharing COC reasons and there's whole swaths of shit that's getting flung up, and it's just not.
Yeah,
it's not good for the game. I mean, full stop.
It's not. So they're being asked to make a decision on something, right? We can disagree with the decision that's been made, but we need to be able to separate the idea that this person is having to make a decision, which likely sucks for them as well, and our feelings about that decision. We need to be able to step back and say, you know what? I think that this person did not do this thing or did do this thing, and I'm going to be supportive of them for whatever that reason is. But that supportive cannot devolve into name calling, into bitch fests, into dumpster fires, into whatever else that we have allowed it to become. And this is particularly dangerous because we have existed only in an online environment with each other for a while. You don't really... These people... I hate to even say this, but these people aren't really people to you.
When they're behind a screen or when they're behind a thing. Yeah,
they're avatars. They're just avatars, and you don't know who they are.
Well, this goes a lot into what we talked about with Randall, where like Facebook is specifically designed to make you have a worse conversation, a more contentious conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, so not only, like, you have to think about, especially when you're communicating on Facebook or any online platform, that those things are designed to drive engagement, and they are designed almost specifically to make you argue. So when you're on Facebook and you're having these conversations, remember that one, algorithmically, it's going to make you do that.
Sure.
Right? You have to approach everything as I'm going to say my piece, be as factual as I can and get out. But then, two, you like you were saying, you have to remember that these are people, and would you be saying those exact same things to their face? And how would you expect them to react if you did that? That's the most important part is not only like, yeah, fuck this guy. Yeah, I'd totally say that to his face. How would that person react? Are you cool with that?
Right. I mean, these are real people on the other side of the screen. They have wives and husbands and kids and moms and dads and dogs and cats and everything else, and their feelings can be
Brought
hurt.
the whole family into it.
Yeah, I did. Right. This is one of those things where I am definitely going to say that this is a generational gap, because where I go to is like, this can really fuck someone up. This can cause real life stress.
The therapy ain't cheap.
Yeah, it can.
Our work insurance ain't great.
It's an emergency room insurance.
Yeah.
You can really, like, this can cause real stress, real trouble, real whatever, and people just don't seem to care. So I don't want to keep on beating this, but I didn't talk out about it very much online because there was no productive conversation to be had about it. And I wanted to say...
I specifically asked you not to also. I was
Yeah.
like, please don't.
it's I wanted to say it here as really just kind of a pin in that, and then we can kind of move on to something else that again, I'm not trying to point to any one person, and I want to be really clear about that. This isn't because we just recently
This
had
is
a
a
popular
topic that's
player
going to
banned.
come up while we're doing Crown Month.
Right.
This
It
is.
is.
People are going to talk about, man, I had to do a really controversial thing, and here's how it affected me. So like, may as well get it out on the table now. That's going to come up during these next 3 episodes that we've got.
It is, and I will tell you what disappointed me the most about all of it, and please believe me, this isn't like some dumb dad moment or any of that bullshit. It's this idea that every time something like this happens, whoever has to deal with it is just a monster. This is so old and tired, guys. I mean, I've been in the game 20 years and there's not a single ban of a mid-popularity person and above. I hate to rank it like that, but that's really what we're talking
it's the truth
about,
of it,
right?
Is really the problem, right?
There hasn't been a mid-popular person and above where you haven't had a situation where some people were like, "This is just horrible." So, again, I want to move on, but I wanted to toss that out there that I don't think that your term is controversial. I think that it sucks. I think that there was a lot of hurtful things said on both sides of this, and I wish that people would just approach this more cautiously, more respectfully, more calmly. That's hard to do when it's emotional topics like this.
It's also, we live in a very information age, and we're being denied information because of things like that, right?
We do.
But the TLDR about all this, realistically, is that we need to learn to respect the offices. And then I'm not saying, oh, sorry, King, I bumped into you or whatever. I'm saying that just respect them as people, right? Like, we can't be ad hominem attacking people and things like this over and over again. And the part of the reason why Crown is such a taxing thing is because you're constantly having to deal with people complaining. And if you have a complaint, and that's fair, there's lots of things to complain about in Amtgard, to be honest.
Yeah, completely.
But just do so with respect for the person in the office that they hold. Like, that's it.
Yeah, we have to move on. I'm pulling the skin off of my fingertips. That's not a joke. I'm in hell. No, but I want to get the insights from other people who have done this. Who are some of the guests that we have lined up to come on? Because I know you've talked to a few, I think.
Yeah, I have. I'm looking forward to, I say this all of the time. I know I'm going to get a T-shirt with it. I'm looking forward to some of the people that we're going to have on. But no, so one of the things that I want to do is, I mentioned talking to different people, not just people that have been king and queen or something like that, about some of the stuff. But, and I brought up champion specifically for a reason. I think it would be kind of cool to bring someone on who has served other roles, prime minister, GMR, champion, and talk to them about how they have affected the office. And I want to give you an example here. A monarch, under most terms, is the person that you occasionally see make posts online and then hand out awards at court. Done.
That's what I wanted to do.
In our kingdom, and I clarify this because other kingdoms may handle this differently, our champion a lot of times will either help set or control the overarching battle game theme for this particular reign or something like that. Like, we've had it done a couple of different ways, but I could make a fairly convincing argument that champion has a bigger impact on how much fun you find this next 6 months than your monarch does. Through their battle game selection at our big kingdom events.
Yeah, I would say it's easier for them to be impactful if they really want to.
To the same token, regents that we have had that have gone out of their way to do big events, I'm looking at Obscura, who's in right now, who's been doing a lot of stuff online. I'm looking at Fiddles, who when she was in did the whole cratting point thing where you could make stuff, you could post it up, everybody was getting to see your work, you could critique and get feedback, and then you got some points for it, and whoever got the most, I think, got a fun, cute little thing at the end. I don't remember what it was. But something like that where you're kind of inciting people to get more invested in the game is another really, really cool aspect of Office that we just don't talk about. Because even though all of these other positions are doing things that are, I could argue, more involved with the populace, the Monarch is the one that... The Monarch!
Sorry, I'm still sad about Venture Bros being canceled.
Did they cancel it?
Yeah, season 7 I think is the last season.
Oh,
So
damn it.
yeah.
The Monarch is the one that everything kind of falls to. Like, if the stuff wasn't fun, it's the Monarch's fault. The Monarch didn't have anything to do with that. But that's who gets blamed. If everything was great, it's not the Monarch's reward necessarily.
Right.
It's just what was expected. So, but yeah, those are some of the people that I want to have on. This is going to be a little bit different of a month, guys. We're going to have not just Crown Knights on. We're going to have some people that are aspiring towards that position, because I think that is a more fun way to approach what, as you can tell from the conversation we've already had now, can often be a very serious and dry and tough conversation to have.
Yeah, by its nature, it's very bureaucratic. Most
Yeah,
of the
like
time, so.
this is what I'm a little worried about with Crown is that we can't go into the weeds too much, right? Because of NDAs to anything else, right? Because of the difficult stuff that happens. But it's also, the people who are Monarch during COVID and fully Monarchs only during COVID, they only get to see the hard stuff. Because if you are Monarch and you had made a hard decision, but you know what? Event's next month. I'm going to look forward to going to the event and having fun at Amtgard again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
They haven't had that opportunity, right? So that's something that's really interesting about Monarchs in COVID terms, right? And so I hope we have people who have been Monarch not in COVID and been Monarch in COVID, which I think we do,
I
correct?
haven't told you who we're having yet. I'm
I
not
know.
going to tell you.
No,
It's gonna
no,
be a
that's what
secret.
that was the question I asked 14 minutes ago, and then you just did a circle all the way around the question for 14 minutes, and now we're here.
No, it's because I didn't want to answer you then, and I'm not going to ask when Jeff directly asks. I'm not going to answer when Jeff directly
It's
asks.
fine. You said you were long-winded earlier. It's just,
back in my day.
yeah, right? I started this game 20 years ago.
No, I will say this. I will give away one person that we're going to have, because both of you already know it. We're going to have Sir Duffer on. He's been in the game for longer than me. He's a great guy. I think he just now had shoulder surgery too that he's recovering from.
Is that just a thing for Amtgarders? When do I get my shoulder
Your-
surgery?
It's
Knees and shoulders.
Yeah, okay.
it's your 20-year pension plaque thing.
I
I
don't
got
want
mine
it.
last year.
Oh, God.
But yeah, we're going to have Sir Duffer on. He's a great guy. I look forward to talking to him about some of the more classical roles that Monarch has played, and the way that he has seen the positions change over time in Amtgard. I think that he has kind of a unique perspective because just the number of decades that he's been doing it,
Yeah, well, he started way out west, yeah?
He did, yeah.
God, Arizona?
Desert Winds, I
Desert
think.
Winds.
Desert Winds,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that Arizona?
I don't know.
I suck so bad at geography. Yeah, he
Desert
started...
Winds, leave a comment if you're actually in Arizona.
Yeah, if we have any subscribers from Desert Winds, please let us know.
There's one person out there that's like, it's me. They heard me.
Yeah, my time to shine. No, but yeah, so not only can he comment on the changing of the rules over time, but also the changing of the rules over distance, which I think will be really cool.
Yeah.
You good there, man?
I just had to fix my glasses. Why?
Oh, okay.
Why did it have to be a whole production?
No, we were just all watching.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah.
So yeah, having Sir Duffer on, I think, is going to be fun. There's an interesting perspective to have there, and then there's also another element to this that I think would be fun. And
Are we doing the interview with Sir Duffer at Sir Duffer's house?
Oh, we should. Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be goats on the podcast. Yes.
Sir Duffer raises goats.
He raises all kinds of animals. He got pigs. He got goats.
Chickens.
He's got just a whole deer that lives in his backyard and eats out of his hand.
Bucky is amazing, by the way. He's very soft.
He's a real life druid, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So not only does he have a deer, this is a no shit story. Not only does he have a deer, and not only does he have a deer that will come up and eat out of his hand, he has a deer that will come up and eat out of his hand and stand there and watch us as we fight. Loud noises going off and everything, and this deer is like, seems legit.
So he said he hadn't, the last time we were up there, he said he hadn't seen Bucky for a little bit. And then we started fighting, and Bucky kind of showed up. Like, he was like, oh, hey, the weird thing's happening again. I guess I'll go watch.
He's got like a Patronus or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's going to be a fun podcast. If nothing else, just because I'm going to get distracted by all the scenery. Anyway, you were saying something, and I thought about goats.
Yeah, no, it.
Have we convinced him to name one of his goats Arthon just
feel-
for shits?
We should.
Yeah.
We should. That'd be great. We can send Arthon the picture of goat Arthon. No, I'm kidding. Arthon doesn't use Facebook. We'll send it to Delos and let Delos send it to Arthon.
I think we can get that arranged.
Yeah, right. But no. So one of the things that we touched on a little bit when we were talking about Delos there is, I kind of want to get the perspective from other people in other kingdoms and the way that their offices work, because there's a lot of times where we inherited a lot of what we do from Neverwinter. And
most of what we do.
Yeah, most of what we do. And this isn't about saying that Neverwinter does it right or wrong. This is just saying we inherited it a way, and there's a lot of other kingdoms that do it different ways. So I learned this when I started looking around at Corpora stuff and some of the other questions that have come up in the past like 5-10 years for the kingdom, is there are some things that I just thought was how it was done, how everybody does it, right? And it's just not. And it's not that we're the outlier in most cases. It's that different this is the whole, like, you teach like you were taught. So you can look at the progression of kingdom, and then they made a principality, and that principality became a kingdom, and then they made a principality, and they all have this similar line. And I bet all of them say, well, that's just how everyone does it.
Well, okay, so I actually think there's maybe more than, but there's at least two branching paths on this, right? There is the Corpora by telephone game, right, where we became a principality of Neverwinter, so now our Corpora is just theirs, but slightly bastardized because of the telephone game.
Sure.
And, especially out west, you have a lot of kingdoms that just sort of did that. But then you also have the other version, which is the Bender version. I'm going to make my own with blackjack and hookers. And so you have like what Sir Michael did, where he went and started the Kingdom of Polaris, or helped start the Kingdom of Polaris, whatever the hell. He got it off the ground.
Yeah.
And so he took what he knew about other Corporas, but said, we're going to write our own. Maybe base it off of another Corpora, but like he could have whole cloth made that his own thing and not just inherited from another kingdom. So there's sort of two branching paths for how kingdoms get their traditions and standards. And I actually want to learn about that. And I sort of floated that question as like, that could be a thing. And now I want to ask every night that we get, like, how did their rule set come to be? Was that handed down from your previous kingdom or whatever?
Yeah. And though this sounds odd to talk about during a crown month, but Corpora, I never thought I'd find myself saying this. Corpora might be something fun to talk about as well.
No.
Yeah, no, that's a bridge too far. We're going to go ahead and just beep that out.
It is super important to the way that we play. And so I'll say this, and then we'll be able to move on, and you can both stop giving me hate looks.
No. Okay, Corpora was a bad example, but traditions in general,
Yeah,
right? Like
sure.
Corpora being a broad, overarching term.
So I'm going to say this about the Corpora, and then I'm going to hop down off my soapbox.
Did anybody hear Clover?
Yeah, he's no. This is Flo, just Flo.
Okay.
You started this.
I did.
I'm going to say this as plainly as I can, and I think that this is something that just a vast misunderstanding that a lot of people have had. Our Corpora is not the end-all, beat-all solution for every single problem that our kingdom may face. It is not designed to be that. It is not set up to be that, and it never could be that. It's not a legal book. It's not anything else. So it's not going to cover every single thing that could possibly come up. It cannot be hundreds of pages long. It should be a very broad definition of how the kingdom works with some very specific information on offices and other things.
Sure.
That's it. Everything else is what our board of directors is for and what our monarchy team is for. Now, some of you listening to this are going to say, but Flo, that means that there may be some inconsistency in the way that this situation is handled from one monarch reign to the other. Well, guess what? That happens right now, all of the time, every reign. It doesn't matter how the Corpora is worded. It still happens. Nothing changes if we define our Corpora, or if we rebuild our Corpora, the way that it should really be rebuilt. I could go on at length about some of the problems of our Corpora, but nobody in our kingdom wants to listen to it. We all know what the problems are with it. I think that the best solution is to try and stop buying parts for our old 1979 Gremlin Corpora and just go out and get a nice new hybrid Corpora. Maybe a Tesla Corpora is where we're wanting to go.
We have lost the fucking metaphor. How do I help you find your way back
I
onto the
think
trail?
there's a Johnny Cash song about our Corpora.
It's
yeah?
called I Hurt Myself.
Oh, well,
Oh my
okay,
God.
shoot. There's two of them.
Yeah.
It's the one about the car that he built over like 20 years because he
Oh,
worked at
yeah,
the place.
where he kept on stealing parts
Yeah.
from the
yeah.
the thing. Yeah, Hurt's one of the best covers ever, by the way. Just hands down.
All right, so you're almost out of soapbox points. And you gotta get in and get out.
That was it.
Okay.
I wanted to say that because I really feel like some people, I said that I'm done, and then you started to say something, and I started again,
Yeah.
and I'm only a little sorry.
Well, and Teflon made a face, which has me scared.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and use Flo's soapbox and climb up there too, because like
here you go.
for me, the Corpora is like you're saying, it should be a general rules thing and not a specific rules thing. And my big thing is I would like to reduce the size of it, and that is the reasoning. The other thing is to like move some of the stuff that's in there to other booklets. And it'd be like, oh, so I'll take the fighting area, right, for tournaments and stuff. So what I would like to see is a tournament book or a best practices book for running tournaments. And so when you go to it, you find in the Corpora it says, oh, you will run a weapon master as outlined.
As defined in Appendix C.
In Appendix C, right. And then not even appendix, because I don't want it directly attached to the Corpora. Because if it's directly attached to the Corpora, it requires 2/3 majority to change. So if we're going to have something that can change faster and easier, if they're locked in a different booklet or a different form, then we can change it in a majority rule rather than a 2/3 majority rule. And I feel that that is a better outlook. Like we have been running the Warlord Sports Ironmans.
Right.
For the tournaments, and I don't think that until my last Alving thing went through, I do not think it was actually technically Corpora,
Compliant.
kosher. Yeah, compliant. And those things,
Corpora
kosher. Yeah, those
It's
are the
like
things
salt.
that I want to stop trying to define so rigidly that we can't progress in the game without relying on a 2/3 vote.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll make it, Winter's Edge, if you're listening, I'll make this really easy for you. I'm going to give you 4 things that you can take out of the Corpora tomorrow, and it will be a 400% better book. Number 1, remove the entire section on the knighthood stuff. We are an advisory council only. I know we've had the conversations before about the fact that we're an advisory council, but we can also kind of dictate who's going to get knighted just by saying no. I'm not trying to rehash that here. I'm just saying we already have bylaws. We have bylaws in our group that we run from. Nothing needs to be in the Corpora about it other than the Knight Circle governs itself and the monarch needs to check. Same for Paragons. Paragons have had this conversation. We keep on trying to add big, long sections in there. I hate all of them.
Can I steal one from you?
Please.
Yeah, the board of directors bylaws need to be completely ripped out of the Corpora and their own
agreed.
separate document.
That's
100%.
Oh my God.
That was number 3. That was number 3.
Yeah, that's why I stole it.
Yeah, board of directors needs to be gone. Why? And the why is important to answer here, I think. Look at other organizations. Don't look at AmpGuard. Look at other organizations and see how they have set up their stuff. If you want to approach this from the whole mind of like we're a business and we need to run like a business, your board of directors needs to be able to update itself, needs to have the flexibility to be able to implement emergency measures and things like that. And guess what? Right now, we really can't. If we can, we cannot do it in any way that is both effective and complies with the way that our Corpora is currently built right now.
Well, okay, so this is a Winter's Edge specific episode, huh?
It really, for people that are out of Kingdom, I'm sorry.
We can only speak
Thanks
to
for
what we
staying
know.
with us so long.
Yeah, we can only speak to what we know, and other guests will hopefully bring in other perspectives.
Leave in the comments. So if you're from another kingdom, here's a cool thing. Leave in the comments something weird that's in your Corpora. I'd love to see some of the crazy stuff that's in other kingdoms' Corporas.
Right.
Are we doing the weird laws and states thing, like we can't hunt whales from a helicopter or whatever it is here, things like that?
Can't. The only thing you can throw out of your vehicle is a whale or something.
If your Corpora in Ampguard has something about hunting whales from helicopters, I'll buy you dinner. I will drive to your state and buy you fucking dinner.
You know, some places can just add stuff to their Corpora.
Alaska, you don't count.
Okay.
I'm gonna just ignore Alaska for this one. You're too far to drive.
What was I gonna say? Dang it! Because there's something specific with our Corpora. Okay. So there's a long held belief in Winter's Edge that the BOD kind of doesn't do much, and it's sort of a chicken egg problem, right? Where the BOD doesn't have any power because they don't do much and they wouldn't use it anyway, but they don't have any power because they don't it's always giving.
Corpora is very rigid on what they can and can't do, and that's a problem.
It's very rigid on what they can and can't do, and mostly it's just what they can't do,
right?
Realistically, and so we have this chicken egg thing where it's like, oh well, they don't use they don't use the power they have, so why give them more? But then nobody wants to give them more because doing that would require an all thing, a 2/3, whatever. But like our BOD has a lot of stuff they could do. I think I'm one of the first monarchs that gave our BOD awards. I gave them lions.
Because they did service.
Because of the work they did.
Yeah.
On our BOD. This most recent term, our BOD, again, I'm giving lots of shout outs, but you have I think Layla, God, I hope I got that right, who figured out how the kingdom can get insurance on a per event basis and unlocked a whole lot of new sites for us. Like that's no small feat.
Which is baller.
Yeah, so they do awesome stuff when they're empowered to do awesome stuff. And lumping their whole rule set in with our Corpora just chains them down.
I really, this might be a kind of an odd analogy, but it'll be a short one. This is
no fucking way.
It will be, I promise. When the United States was first founded, we were coming from what we consider to be kind of a tyrannical rule at the time, right? And so it was really important that we not give the government too much power. Our original government, if you look at the drafting that the Continental Congress had, they couldn't do dick. I mean, even if they all agreed, it was hard to get dick done. So I think that when we founded our kingdom, we kind of did the same thing. We didn't want the board of directors to have a lot of power because we were kind of afraid what they would do with that power.
We also didn't understand the perspective of what they needed to get done as well.
Right. And as the game became more formalized and we became official, 501c3s,
right.
Our BOD needs to be able to do a lot more shit. But by the way, Getting Dick Done is my favorite song in Hamilton.
Is that actually a song in Hamilton?
No.
I want it to be. I still haven't seen Hamilton, y'all.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I still haven't seen
I have
Hamilton.
been beating that drum for like 4 years. How is this possible?
I know.
You want my Disney Plus login?
You don't need that. It's on Pornhub.
Oh, it is on Pornhub. Don't
Wait.
ask me why I know.
Okay.
So is every episode of Painting with Bob Ross. It's all on Pornhub.
Okay, I knew about the Painting with Bob Ross. Why is Hamilton on
hold on. Let me just...
Hub?
Why is it? Because they don't regulate things as broadly as
they have to now because of some recent shit that happened. But yeah, they used to not regulate shit. Hold on, let me...
Incognito mode.
Oh no, this is my personal laptop. I don't care. Revolutionary twinks have historical fun. If you're bored and on Pornhub later while listening to the podcast, God bless you, but you can find it.
I'm going to watch Hamilton tonight, y'all.
Oh yeah, that's what we're calling it now. I'm watching Hamilton.
Oh, that's the podcast name.
That's the code.
All right, I'll put it in the fucking notes. God.
Hammer time, and I'm going to watch Hamilton tonight.
Why is there a Pornhub video linked from your YouTube?
Oddly on point.
I don't think Spotify will let us do that, but I'm going to try.
Let's not get kicked off Spotify again.
Again? Oh, God.
No, we didn't tell you about it. Don't worry about it, Lucas.
But yeah, I mean, I think that this is, I think it is analogous to the kind of, we didn't understand what this committee was supposed to do. And the part that we did understand, we were quite frankly scared of. I was there when we were drafting some of the original stuff. I helped write some of our original stuff. Not the Corpora that we have right now. I believe that was Avi and what was
Avery
that made the first draft. It's been changed so many times now that I don't even know how much of the original is still left at this point.
I have no idea.
But
It's a real Ship of Theseus thing. Yeah.
it is. But to really sink this home, Winter's Edge, I talked to a lot of other kingdoms, and the question that I asked was the same every single time. How often do you see Corpora changes come up in your All Things? And this was because we have a lot of Corpora changes that come up in our All Things.
We legit have like 5 to 7 true Corpora changes almost every All Thing.
This most recent one, I think, has like 5.
Yeah. And so I asked them, what does your Corpora changes look like? Or I'm sure that there's people arguing. People are going to be people no matter where you go. There's going to be difference of opinions on the best way to handle something. Surely this is a problem that everyone has and that we're just normal. No, we are not. We're so far from normal. A lot of the people that I talked to were like maybe 1 or 2, and it's not challenging the position. It's clarifying the position. Like, hey, we had 2 different interpretations of this. Let's get an official ruling on the way that the kingdom would like to interpret it. And that's a problem. That's a problem for us. It is. I am not laying this at the feet of any one person or any one group. We have had several groups that have worked on the Corpora over the years. We have had literally hundreds of All Things proposals at this point to update it. And we as a group have created this monster of Frankenstein that we now call our Corpora. And the fix for it is just to rebuild it. That's really where I'm at.
I don't know that we necessarily need to do it full up. I think you can go by section and do it that way. But
Well, I also think pulling out certain sections to be in their own
Yes.
documents will help a lot.
Fix
Because then you're
quite a
not
bit
having
of
to
that.
rebuild everything. The BOD can suddenly fix its bylaws very easily. So there's a lot of things that can be fixed off to the side once that's broken up appropriately.
And if something happens that you don't like happen, right? Like if the BOD puts in their bylaws something you don't like, we can still request them to remove it through All Thing as a official position to do so. This is what I think people are afraid of, is that something gets, done behind doors or whatever, and we can't fix it. That's not true.
I mean, it's already a problem that we have right now that we've discussed on this episode and other episodes. When you have small groups, that cannot always share the full reason why they're doing something, then you have this environment where people can then say, well, I think that something fishy's happening.
Well, let me give a good, because we're all talking in metaphor, but let me give a good real world example right now of what our BOD needs the power to do. Our BOD needs the power to suspend the state of play in Amthgard. Right now, they kind of can't do that. Per our Corpora, there's nothing that says they can. So when COVID came, I had to be the one to go, hey guys, no. And
Right.
not saying that I wouldn't have done it, or I shouldn't have had to do it. I'm happy to, I don't want, that's, but our BOD should have been the ones that can come in and say, hey, no,
And
this
follow
is
this
insane.
down. Follow this down to its conclusion. Why should it have been the BOD that did this? What is their function and purpose that makes it their responsibility?
Right, so they deal with all of the mundane and legal
Exactly.
portions of our game.
Exactly.
So if a player were to die of COVID or something like that, that's a consideration we have to make as a kingdom with waivers that people sign. That is firmly in their territory, and it's something they should be able to do.
That is exactly right. I mean, us talking to people in different kingdoms just to get them to come on this podcast. Do you want to know the most common question that we get to ask? It's not, you have a podcast? It's not, what are we going to talk about? Yeah, okay, it was for a while. You guys are doing podcasts. It's none of those things. The most common question we get asked is when they find out that the current king of our kingdom is on the podcast, they say, you guys are the only kingdom that's been playing through COVID, because in our state, some groups were in areas where it was illegal to continue playing. so long as they were following whatever guidelines, and those groups chose to continue playing, chose to follow those guidelines. This isn't about poo-pooing on them, by the way. This is just to say we were like this shiny, weird toy to them, and they wanted to know all of the weird details about how it's worked out and what it was like being able for the groups being able to play through that. That's the
Right.
most common question that we got from our guests for a while there. That's silly. And it's silly because guess what? All of the other board of directors had the power to say, the state as a whole, some areas may be allowing it, but the state as a whole has said that we're not going to do this. So as the entity that deals with mundania in our kingdom, we're just going to make an official ruling on this, right? It could be that our board took the exact same tact that you took. This isn't about saying
Sure.
that they would have shut it down, right? They have the freedom to do that. But they don't right now. Ours can't do it. There are 23 fucking kingdoms, and we're the only one whose board is limited in this way. That's silly, guys. That is silly.
Well, so this comes down to a topic that I've long toyed with, and since we're doing a deep dive on Corporas, that's an appropriate time.
This is really about Crown Month, y'all. It really is.
Listen,
Well, I mean, it
Crown
is
deals with a
tangentially,
lot of
yeah.
the bureaucracy and a lot of the boring shit, but
It is.
But an interesting thought that I've had is, and this is just me tired of fucking dealing with it, but I would be super thrilled if AI put out a unified corpora that all kingdoms, and it would be that super simple document like you're talking about, because you can't apply a situation to all 20 whatever kingdoms.
How does membership work? How does electing officers work? How does removing officers work? What
are the roles? What are their responsibilities?
What are their roles and what are their responsibilities? And then your kingdom may add to some of those roles and responsibilities.
Well, no. Your kingdom keeps a separate. I'm going to call it an appendix, but
Sure,
Teflon
yeah.
is right. An appendix is attached to the document. So
It's a thing that I had removed when I was 6.
Yeah, that too. So your kingdom will take its own gallbladder, and or you had that removed too, right?
I did have my gallbladder removed as well, but the appendix is different.
Yeah, no. So your kingdom will have its own separate document of when certain things happen, when mid-reign is, when coronation is, when end-reigns are. Those kingdom-specific things can be a separate document, but a lot of the just procedural things
The
that
nuts
need
and
to be
bolts.
unified, across the board, should just be in an omni corpora that every kingdom agrees to. But to be clear, I don't think that'll ever happen. We're not going to get all 25 kingdoms to agree to it.
We should, though. We should. I mean, think about this. Think about the fact that just like the Lions Club or Boy Scouts or anything else like that.
Is the Lions Club a local thing? Do we have to explain that for people outside of
No,
Tennessee?
I think that the Lions Club's everywhere.
Okay.
I think it's everywhere.
How many orders of the lion do you have to be in it?
Can we have a household now? I'm really kind of excited
No.
about it.
House Lioness already exists.
Shit.
What were we talking about?
Omni corpora.
Yeah, so think about it like this.
Lodges, that's the word.
Yeah.
Lions Club is a lodge.
Yeah,
type
it
thing.
is. Think about it like this. Think about paying dues to Amtgard itself, right? The dues would still go to your kingdom. The dues, none of this is going to change the way that the kingdom stuff works, right? But think about the fact that everyone would have the same membership requirements. Everyone would have the same citizenship requirements. You would know exactly what was going on all the way across the board, no matter where you moved. It could be that when I move out to, I'm not moving anywhere, but let's say I move out to Colorado, like Sir Darko did for a while. I know when I get out there that all I have to do is check that kingdom's clarification of how long it is after I move in before I can vote. Is it a number of credits or a number of months or something? Because the kingdoms may have differing views on that. But I already know how all of my membership stuff works because it's universal.
I'll take a step further in that we have to buy license as a kingdom from AI.
So actually, this isn't, well, okay.
I think that's a better format because then they hold some sort of responsibility to it as well, and we don't get the shrug of the shoulders on things as
Right, they
AI
have a
kingdoms.
duty of responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, so this is an interesting thing. If you look at the Clan 2019 minutes, they actually specifically voted not to call the payments we make to AI a licensing fee.
Right.
And that was because, lawsuits and things like that, and there were a lot of reasons why we didn't want to. But it is effectively a licensing fee, and I believe big asterisk, I believe that going forward, it is going to be a licensing fee. Like whatever we pay to AI every year, which hopefully is coming down, will be a licensing fee.
Right. I think, was it Crix or someone posted somewhere about like a different way to pay
per
a
person.
per person thing, and I think that's where I'm kind of driving at.
There
I
were
really
some
like
issues
that.
with that, but
Sure.
I like this. I
Yeah,
like the
SCA's
system.
done it. SCA's done it for years, and I hope that I don't offend any of our SCA listeners. But
One of you.
yeah, the hey Travis, I think it's like $40 a year or something like that. By the way, I'm not saying that we should make AmpGuard a pay-to-play game or that it's going to be $40. I don't want to misquote Crix, but I think his rendition was like $5 or something.
It
It
was
wasn't
like
even. It was
$2 per
$2 and something.
Yeah, $2.
And
There
change.
you go per person.
But your kingdom would be responsible for it, not the person. So the idea was that the kingdom paid for its people, so that we would be basically doing it off of events. But I would take it a step further personally and be like, dues become taxes to some degree, or taxable from kingdom to thing. I know that's not going to fly probably around here, but I think it's better off. I mean, we have had $200+ in our coffers for like 10 years now that we've done zero with. That's kind of on us. But I feel like
You're
that
talking
could've-
about Radiant
Radiant
Valley,
Valley,
to be
yeah.
clear, not the kingdom.
Correct,
We'd
yeah.
be bankrupt if we.
yeah. So like being able to move them around and up so that we're paying for things correctly in a more correct fashion, in my opinion.
I think one of the reasons, and I'm not super familiar with the structure, I think SCA kind of gets away with it because SCA is all incorporated under one banner. Like you play SCA. You may play SCA in the South and they may have an organization in the South, but like you are part of the SCA, not the kingdom of the
Yeah, the kingdom of the Hua Hua is just someone that is under SCA.
Right, and it is all just SCA proper.
Yes.
We don't really have that. Every kingdom has its own sovereignty, and that gives a lot of flavor to AmpGuard. But going back to the paying a yearly fee thing, I have for a long time said AmpGuard is the broke person's LARP. I mean, it is extremely cheap to play our game. We had Subway on who said he was going to be the Walmart great value warrior. You know, he's building everything super cheap. And that's totally true. But I think having every player pitch in $5 a year to play is not so high a bar.
Unreasonable, I don't feel like.
Like-
and $5 is very much oh man, if you really can't do it, then fucking I'll cover a couple.
Yeah,
people.
exactly. Like $5 is 1/3 of a World of Warcraft subscription for 1 month. Like,
Yeah.
come on, you know, you can if you play World of Warcraft, and I know a lot of AmpGuarders do, you can afford to pay $5 a year to play our game.
Yeah, I think
That's
that,
one Starbucks coffee that you missed for the entire year.
I didn't think about putting it in Starbucks coffees, but you're totally right.
how many Corollas would that be?
Oh God, have we explained that on the podcast?
I don't know that we did.
Oh God, can we take a tangent and explain it?
Sure. Okay. So AmpGuarders suck at guessing how big 20 feet is.
It's me. I'm AmpGuarders.
Like a bunch of people think that 20 feet is probably 35 to 40 feet.
I thought it was like
not
60.
even kidding.
You
So
have depth perception problems.
yeah, we learned that playing disc golf. I'm off.
Like playing disc golf with Lucas is great. You'll make a throw and he's like, "Fuck yeah, you got it!"
Get in
As
there!
It sails like 45 feet over the top of the basket and 100 feet past it. Sorry, buddy, I got a little excited.
It's really exciting for me all the time. Anyway,
but Flo, your Corolla is like what? What was it? 19.6
Yeah,
feet or something like that.
It's a Camry. Well, I keep on saying Corolla, but it's a Camry and it's 19.65 feet long.
Yeah. So we've been jokingly, is that inside a Camry? No. Okay. Well, you're out of the spell. Would be the idea. of it.
Camrys
how many
is that?
Camrys?
How many
yeah.
Camrys is it? Like
That was a good
Smoots or
throw.
whatever.
How many
Yeah.
Camrys do you think I got out of that? Yeah.
I go with 10.
We figured it out because we're trying to plan out. We use Sir Flo's garage for recording space, and it's like, okay, well, we still have to have room for the car, and I'm like, oh, it's fine, it'll fit in the back half of the garage. And when we measure it, and I'm like, oh, it's so long. It doesn't feel that long when I stare at it. And I went out and looked at the car, and I looked at the garage. I still can't see it. You guys.
Because that's legit. Basically, 20 feet. So like, only a car's length is all we should be casting 20-foot spells at.
Yeah, I mean, we legit took a tape measure out to measure the car and then brought it back in here because the three of us, three educated people, were arguing over. Okay, one educated person and me and Jeff were arguing over. Yeah, because you have. A degree.
one now too. Thank you.
yeah.
It's just a 2-year degree though.
Oh, okay. Two educated people plus Sir Flo were arguing over 20 feet, and we were staring. We were in a garage that's 24 feet looking at a car that is 20 feet, and we couldn't figure it out. Like, that's not a joke. That's a real life, like, holy shit, are we going to come to blows conversation over this? So yeah, people suck at measuring distance. We should do a video. We should do a whacked video called "You Suck at Measuring 20-Foot Spells."
Like a you suck at cooking kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are some silly drills that I've seen.
You suck
that,
at making
that are
swords.
games that people
be a whole
have
series.
kind of pitched to do at small parks, and that's measure out 20 feet. And one person has like a sword, and the other person has shove or whatever random spell, and they have to say the spell correctly before the person runs 20 feet at them. So then you have a true gauge, or a somewhat true gauge, on what 20 feet is. And how long it's going to take you to get a spell off before someone rushes 20 feet at you.
Right.
Do you want to know who was always just crazily unfair at that? Sir Golwyn and Warlord Goose. Because both of them are surveyors in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so, Sir Golwyn, who played wizard quite a bit, would cast something. And they're like, that's outside of 20 feet. He's like, nope, you're at exactly 19 and a half feet. Like, he'd call it down to the inch.
Tapes got pulled a couple times.
They did.
He's within like 5 inches.
Yeah, right? But yeah, no. I don't remember how we got on this conversation. I had quite a bit of sugar before we started this, but
Yeah, my Coke's kicking in. I'm more awake than I was earlier.
but
That's Coca-Cola, just for clarity's sake.
yeah.
For legal reasons.
Yeah, oh my God.
But
We're all too broke for that.
Yeah, no joke.
We are. But yeah, no. Seriously, what were we talking about?
I don't know. I lost the thread hard, huh?
We did. Okay.
Is this a good place to wrap it up, or?
We could. I want to cover one more thing before we.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where Flo is going to tell us who he's got lined up for the.
Yeah,
Crown
you haven't
Month,
told us who you had lined up for Crown Month yet.
Man, has that worked on anyone?
I'm sure it hasn't, but
We
I'm
gotta
always going to try.
Yeah.
Listen.
No, I'm a professional instigator. It has worked several times.
Yeah, that's the sad part, is I know that it has. So there was one more thing that I wanted to cover here. So we have Crown coming up this month. We have Serpent coming up the month after that, and then we're going to wrap it up with Service. And we have a lot of things that we would like to talk about after that. But we kind of wanted to go to you guys and see what you thought would be the most interesting of those. So sometime over the next 3 months or so, we're going to have a couple of polls that are going up on our site that are things that we thought would be really, really interesting to cover on the channel. And we would kind of like to hear from you about what you think is going to be the most interesting out of those topics.
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been really fun to make. We've done a couple of format shifts. I know that we used to do an hour long. We're now up to somewhere around an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
We brought Teflon on. I don't know why I called you by your Amp Guard name when I've been calling you Jeff the whole time. We brought Jeff on as our third host and resident measuring Corolla expert.
He's our resident jiu-jitsu expert.
He's our resident jiu-jitsu expert.
Ooh, expert is not the correct word for that. Enthusiast.
And we've gotten to talk to some really, really awesome people and cover some really awesome things. But I think it would be cool to see what your guys' thoughts are. And if you haven't been doing so up to this point, I know that every single week we do that rollout that Cabbage recorded where it's like, hey, like and subscribe and you can listen to us here. But seriously, guys, it helps us grow the channel. There are some things that we can't do.
Yeah,
until we get to 100.
I can't quit my day job.
You seriously can't, even if we start doing well here, because I work with you.
Thank God Zeb doesn't listen to these, because I can just see the.
But no joke, like if we get to 100 subscribers, it really unlocks our ability to organize the the structure of the YouTube page and everything like that.
Yep.
A whole lot better
we're
for
at
everybody.
like 90 subs right
Are we?
now.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
So I mean, we're not too far off.
Nice.
It grows with every episode.
Yeah, we have some sub channels that we're wanting to release that we can't do till we get to 100.
Yeah, and it's not like we could go and do this content, but it's going to get lost on our page thing unless we get to the 100. So, like, I hate to be begging for subscribers or anything because I never thought I'd be there, but I understand why that's a thing now, guys.
It really is. So yeah, like I said, you hear it every single episode at the very end there, but it really makes a difference. Like, subscribe, do all of those things. I'll even
Specifically for YouTube. For the moment, anyway.
Yeah, Spotify doesn't do anything special. None of the other podcasters do anything special. If you have
we've got Vidalia and Quan working on more or less a sub channel.
They're working on a. We were going to call it like a ladies version of the WAK podcast, but really it's a women and non-binary, a non-men version of the podcast, because this is a fucking sausage party. Like, we've had some really cool, non-men. We've had
Lyndon was amazing.
Six Promethea.
Six Promethea was amazing.
Have we had? Vidalia, of course.
Yeah,
oh yeah, her, I guess.
But I mean, like, this. If you were to take all of our episodes,
sorry, Vidalia.
I'm not.
Yeah. If you were to take all of our episodes and put them together, it's just kind of a nasty boy soup. So they're going to do some things that are more focused on that I don't think we can really broach, as a topic, right? Like, so you're a woman, and then, like, what do we say? It's fucking awkward. So having them handle that's really cool, and that's another thing we'll get to put on the channel soon.
Yeah, and I'll even drop one that I've really been looking forward to. Been waiting to get to 100 to release this. I have been putting together what I'm calling Saturday Night Bardic. It is going to be stories from around the Boffer world. This isn't just Amtgard. Some of these are going to be from Bell and Dag. But the idea is we'll have a topic. They'll release once a week. It's, hey, what was fun going to an event? What was a fun thing that happened to you in a battle game? And you just get to listen to...
Live from Flo's house, it's Saturday night!
Yeah, right. We just get
Man,
to
I can't wait to
some
have the
fun
podcast actually be playing Amtgard again, too, because I think that'll make it way better.
Oh my God, yeah, seriously.
Do you guys... So I want to do one from Field.
Yeah,
do
I
an
mean, that's
episode
kind of...
from
So,
Field. That'd be so
this
much
is our
fun.
Kickstarter
Just a lot of...
episode. So at 100 subscribers, you have unlocked Saturday Night Bargain with Flo, and at 101 subscribers, you've unlocked
God,
Battlefield.
we've become a Twitch stream. No.
It's not long before we start every new
coverage
episode
from
with, "What's up, guys?"
Yeah, right.
But yeah, the thank you so much for being with us on this journey up to this point. We're looking forward to some of the months coming up, and look out for those polls. If you want to see them, need to go to the Facebook and subscribe, join. What do you do on Facebook to get into groups?
You can just like our page, and then you'll get updates.
Okay, there you go.
Feel free to comment on the episodes. We have a couple of folks that do, and we obviously take their feedback very seriously. So if you make your voice heard, we listen. Also,
so long as we like the feedback, we take it seriously.
yeah. If your feedback sucks, we're not gonna. But it's not been bad feedback so far, so we can't even. But also make sure we're gonna link it in the description notes below. But we talked about it on our episode with Kodiak. We're going to be they are doing a fundraiser for St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yep.
And if we get to $5,000, I think they're close to $2,000 right now.
Yep.
Then Flo will shave his beard.
Yeah, I'm gonna live stream shaving my beard at 5,000.
We instigated him into that, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, it was great.
It runs through the 28th of February, 2021. So you still have plenty of time to go donate. Please do go donate, guys. This is a great cause. This is St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Specifically, I think it's specifically dedicated towards the treatment and research.
Yes.
It's a wonderful cause. We'll put a link to it in the video.
Yeah, and for folks who maybe don't know or don't look into it, St. Jude's does, I think it's a lot of cancer treatment for specifically for children and pediatric patients, but they do it all for free.
Yeah, I don't remember if St. Jude's handled mine or not, but I was a research patient actually for a childhood cancer thing. So yeah, this is really important. It hits people very well. So please donate.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, beyond that, I guess stay tuned, like, share, subscribe. You want me to hit the rollout?
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.